My brother slept with my girlfriend, saying, "What's yours is mine," so I started dating his crush. I, 26 male, need to tell this story from the beginning, because the recent developments are insane, but you need context to understand how we got here. My brother Marcus, 24M, has been the golden child since birth. Mom had him at 19 when dad was working oil rigs and barely home. When I came along 2 years later, suddenly there were rules and expectations, but only for me. Marcus learned early that throwing tantrums got him what he wanted, and our parents never grew out of giving in to him. Some highlights from our childhood. Age 8, Marcus breaks my PlayStation in a rage. Dad's solution? Buy Marcus his own so we can share better. Age 12, Marcus gets caught cheating, tells mom I helped him. I get grounded, he gets tutoring. Age 16, Marcus crashes my car that I bought with my own job money. Guess who had to pay for repairs? Age 18, Marcus literally steals my college essays, applies to my dream school, gets in. I don't. But the relationship stuff is where it gets really twisted. Every girlfriend I've ever had, Marcus has tried to interfere with. My high school girlfriend Emma, Marcus told her I was cheating, I wasn't, and consoled her right into his bed. College girlfriend Jessica, Marcus convinced her parents I was bad news until they forbade her from seeing me. I always thought it was just jealousy and immaturity. I was wrong. 3 months ago, my girlfriend Sarah, 25F of 3 years, started acting weird. Distant, jumpy, avoiding eye contact. I thought maybe she was planning a surprise party or something. The truth was so much worse. Marcus told me over coffee, casual as discussing the weather. "Oh, by the way, Sarah and I have been hooking up." Don't worry though, I explained to her that brothers share everything. I literally dropped my coffee mug. Just stared at him while he continued explaining how he'd convinced Sarah that sharing girlfriends was just how our family worked, and that I'd be upset if she didn't go along with it. "You told her I was okay with this?" I managed to ask. "Well, you are, aren't you? We're brothers. What's yours is mine. What's mine is yours. That's how it's always been." After that, that's when the full scope hit me. This wasn't a one-time thing. They'd been having a full affair for 4 months. In my apartment. In my bed. Using lingerie I'd bought her. But here's the part that made me physically sick. Marcus showed me pictures. Said he wanted me to see how happy she looked, and that I should be grateful he was taking care of her needs. I threw up right there in the Starbucks, over the next week. As I tried to process this betrayal, more details came out. Sarah hadn't just fallen for Marcus. She'd been systematically manipulated. He'd been consoling her after every fight we had, gradually poisoning her against me. "Jake doesn't really appreciate you. Jake talks about other women when you're not around. Jake told me he's thinking about ending things anyway." None of it was true, but Sarah's insecurities made her believe it. Marcus love-bombed her, made her feel special, then convinced her that being with him was actually what I secretly wanted. The sick part? He'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. Sarah told me later that Marcus knew details about our relationship, our fights, even our sex life, because she'd been confiding in him, thinking he was just being a supportive future brother-in-law. Now, there's this woman named Elena Rodriguez, 25 females who've been in our friend group since high school. She's incredible. This brilliant artist who does murals around the city, sharp as hell, takes zero BS from anyone. She has this laugh that makes you want to be funnier just to hear it again. Marcus has been obsessed with her for 7 years. Obsessed. He shows up uninvited to her art shows, sends her terrible paintings with love poems. Once followed her to a coffee shop and sat at her table without permission. Elena has rejected him 47 times. She literally keeps count. Period. Here's what I never told anyone. Elena and I almost had a moment at my 21st birthday. We were on the balcony talking for hours, and she looked at me like I actually mattered. We almost kissed, but Marcus came stumbling out drunk and threw such a fit that Elena left early. I never pursued it because I didn't want to deal with Marcus's drama. Biggest mistake of my life. After learning about the full extent of Marcus's manipulation with Sarah, something clicked. I was done walking on eggshells around his entitlement. If he could justify sleeping with my girlfriend as sharing, then all bets were off. I went to Elena's art studio. She converted this amazing warehouse space, and found her working on a massive piece about breaking free from expectations. "Jake?" She looked surprised but happy to see me, paint in her hair and on her hands. "Elena, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest." "Okay. Do you want to go to dinner with me? Like a real date. Not as friends, not as a group thing, just us. She dropped her paintbrush. Are you seriously asking me out right now? I know the timing is terrible and I know about Marcus, but Jake. She stepped closer, eyes bright. I have been waiting 7 years for you to ask me that question. We talked until sunrise, about art, about dreams, about how we'd both been tiptoeing around Marcus's possessiveness for years. She told me about all the times she'd tried to get my attention, all the signals I'd missed, because I was so focused on keeping peace with my brother. I used to think you were just oblivious, she said. Then I realized you were choosing him over yourself every single time. Elena and I kept things quiet for 3 days. 3 perfect, peaceful days where we got to know each other without any outside drama. We went to galleries, talked about books, cooked dinner together. I felt more like myself than I had in years. Of course, Sarah ruined it. She'd been desperately trying to reach me since Marcus's confession. And when she saw Elena and me together at a coffee shop, she immediately ran to Marcus. Looking back, I think she was hoping that if Marcus got distracted by his Elena obsession, maybe she could get me back. Marcus's reaction was, Unhinged doesn't even cover it. First, Marcus showed up at Elena's studio at 6 a.m., screaming about betrayal and theft. Elena called the cops. He got a trespassing warning. Then came the Facebook post. Family photos with the caption, "When your brother stabs you in the back." Got 200 comments before Mom made him delete it. Next, he tried convincing our mutual friends that Elena and I had been having an affair for years. He showed them old group photos as proof, analyzing body language like some deranged detective. But the worst part was when he enlisted Sarah to help win Elena back. Yes, the woman he'd been screwing behind my back was now supposed to be his wingwoman in pursuing the woman I was dating. Logic was insane, but Marcus was past caring about logic. Mom, bless her heart, thought a family dinner would fix everything. She invited Elena, against my better judgment, and somehow Sarah showed up too, claiming Marcus had invited her as moral support. What followed was the most uncomfortable 2 hours of my life. Marcus had prepared a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not joking. A full slideshow titled, "Why Elena Belongs with Me," that included a timeline of his 7-year pursuit, screenshots of Elena rejecting other men. I still don't know how he got these. A pros and cons list comparing him to me, a section called Jake's Pattern of Betrayal, with childhood photos. Elena sat through exactly 3 slides before standing up. Marcus, she said, voice deadly calm, I need you to understand something. I have never, not once, not even for a second, been interested in you romantically. I am not playing hard to get. I am not confused about my feelings. I simply do not want to date you, sleep with you, or spend any more time pretending your behavior is acceptable. The silence was deafening. Then, Sarah, in a spectacular display of poor judgment, chimed in. But Elena, Jake is just using you to hurt Marcus. He doesn't really care about you. Elena's response was swift and brutal. Sarah, you slept with your boyfriend's brother and convinced yourself he was okay with it. I don't think you're qualified to judge anyone's motivations. Dad started laughing. Mom looked mortified. Marcus threw his laptop across the room, cracking the screen. This is all your fault, he screamed at me. You turned her against me. She would have loved me if you hadn't poisoned her mind. That's when Elena had enough. Marcus, I need you to listen very carefully. I have never liked you. Not in high school, not in college, not now. Your personality is exhausting, your behavior is creepy, and your inability to accept no as an answer makes you fundamentally undateable. Jake didn't turn me against you. You did that all by yourself. Marcus went silent for about 10 seconds. Then he looked at our parents and said, Are you gonna let her talk to me like that? Dad's response? Son, she's telling the truth. Maybe it's time you heard it. After the dinner disaster, Marcus completely lost it. Over the next 2 weeks, he called Elena's boss claiming she was mentally unstable and stealing clients. She got a formal reprimand, made fake social media accounts to harass her online with increasingly disturbing messages, convinced 3 friends to leave fake bad reviews on her studio's Google page, told our entire extended family I was having a mental breakdown and Elena was taking advantage of me. Somehow got into my apartment, I still don't know how, and destroyed a painting Elena had made for me. Showed up drunk at Elena's gallery opening, screaming that she was ruining our family, until security removed him. That's when Elena got a restraining order. Mom cried for 3 days straight. Dad threatened to cut Marcus off financially unless he got serious help. Court-mandated therapy is a hell of a thing. During one of Marcus's sessions, his therapist started digging into his relationship patterns, and some horrifying truths emerged. Marcus hasn't just been interfering with my relationships, he's been systematically destroying them for over a decade. Every breakup I thought was natural or mutual, Marcus had a hand in it. Emma in high school? Marcus told her I was cheating with my study partner. I wasn't, and consoled her right into his bed. Jessica in college? Marcus convinced her parents I was a bad influence and got them to forbid her from seeing me. Even casual relationships were sabotaged. He'd befriend my girlfriends, slowly poison them against me, then swoop in when they were vulnerable. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but he never stopped trying. The therapist apparently told my parents that Marcus shows signs of narcissistic personality disorder and has likely been competing with me for resources and attention since childhood. His behavior escalated as we got older because adult relationships represented something he couldn't just take or break, until he figured out how to manipulate the women involved. Meanwhile, Sarah was having her own breakdown. She'd finally realized the extent to which Marcus had manipulated her, and in a desperate attempt to win me back, she confessed everything. Marcus had been working on her for months before they slept together, slowly eroding her confidence in our relationship. Jake doesn't seem as happy lately. Jake mentioned he feels like you two are growing apart. Jake said something about wanting to explore his options. Probably nothing, though. None of it was true, but Sarah's insecurities made her believe every word. Marcus positioned himself as the supportive, understanding alternative to her neglectful boyfriend. But here's the really sick part. Marcus had been recording some of their encounters, not for blackmail, just because he wanted proof that he could take something of mine. He showed the videos to his friends, bragging about conquering my girlfriend. With Sarah's testimony and the evidence from Marcus's phone, we had enough for harassment, revenge porn, and emotional abuse charges. Elena's documentation of his stalking behavior helped too. But Marcus wasn't going down without a fight. He hired a lawyer and tried to flip the narrative, claiming I was the manipulative one and that he was just defending true love. His lawyer actually argued that the recordings were consensual. They weren't. Sarah never knew about them. The legal stuff dragged on for months. But during that time, something beautiful was happening. Elena and I were falling deeply in love, surrounded by all this chaos but finding peace in each other. She never once asked me to tone things down or avoid the drama. Instead, she documented everything Marcus did, helped me organize evidence, and stood by me through every court date. When I worried that I was dragging her into my family's mess, she reminded me that Marcus had been harassing her long before I came into the picture. Besides, she said one night as we looked through legal paperwork, "I've been waiting 7 years for you to fight for something you want. I'm not going anywhere now." The hardest part wasn't dealing with Marcus or Sarah. It was watching my parents finally see their golden child for who he really was. Mom went through stages of grief. Denial. Marcus is just confused. Anger. How could we have raised him wrong? Bargaining. Maybe if we all go to family therapy. Depression. She barely left her room for 2 weeks. And finally acceptance. We enabled this behavior, and now we have to face the consequences. Append. Dad was more straightforward in his horror. I knew Marcus was spoiled. He told me during one of our weekly calls. But I thought he was just immature. I never imagined he was actively trying to destroy your happiness. Append. Our extended family split pretty predictably. The relatives who'd always favored Marcus thought I was being vindictive. The ones who'd watched him get away with everything for years finally felt vindicated in their concerns. Append. Christmas was interesting. We had 2 separate celebrations. One for the Marcus supporters, one for everyone else. Elena and I went to the second one, obviously. 6 months after this whole nightmare started, Marcus pled guilty to harassment and revenge porn charges. He got probation, mandatory therapy, a restraining order requiring him to stay 500 feet from Elena and me, and he had to pay restitution for Elena's lost business and the destroyed painting. More importantly, he finally seemed to grasp that his behavior was wrong. His therapist said he was making significant progress in understanding how his narcissistic tendencies had hurt people. Whether that lasts remains to be seen. Sarah moved to another city. Last I heard, she's in therapy too, and dating someone new. I hope she's learned to recognize manipulation tactics. Elena and I got engaged 3 months ago. I proposed at the warehouse where she works, surrounded by her art, and she said yes before I even finished asking the question. We're planning a small wedding because honestly, after all this family drama, we just want to focus on building our life together. The best part? Elena's latest art series is called Breaking Free. and features these incredible pieces about overcoming toxic relationships and choosing your own path. The centerpiece is a massive mural that shows a woman walking away from chaos toward light. And it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. She says it's about both of us finding the courage to stop living our lives around Marcus's dysfunction. We're house hunting now. Elena wants a big studio space. I want a garage for woodworking. We're both getting what we want, because that's how healthy relationships work. Mutual support, not zero-sum competition. Looking back, I realized that Marcus did me a favor. His betrayal with Sarah was horrible, but it finally opened my eyes to patterns I'd been ignoring for years. If he hadn't pushed things so far, I might have spent the rest of my life walking on eggshells around his entitlement, missing out on the woman who was right in front of me. Elena and I talk sometimes about how different things might have been if I'd asked her out in high school, or after that almost kiss at my birthday party. But she always says the same thing. We found each other when we were ready to fight for something real. And she's right. 7 years ago, I would have backed down the moment Marcus threw a tantrum. Now I know what love actually looks like, and I'll never settle for less again. Marcus texted me last week, his first contact since the restraining order expired. Just 3 words, "I'm sorry, Jake." I didn't respond. Some apologies come too late, and some bridges can't be rebuilt. But I hope he's genuinely changing, for his own sake if nothing else. As for Elena and me, we're planning our honeymoon, designing our dream house, and living proof that sometimes the best revenge is simply being happy.